Volcanoes are one of the most fascinating things about the Galapagos Islands and in fact, the entire trip. We hike up to the top of an enormous shield volcano, and then around the rim of the shield volcano to see an eruption site from 1979 where the craters are still emitting steam. And we get this beautiful vista from way up on top of the volcano, looking north to all of the other volcanoes on the island of Isabella. Isabella is just a chain of volcanoes. And you can see the sort of the landscape, which is very desolate because these eruptions are very recent, and it takes a long time for vegetation to take over and begin to grow on the fresh lava after there's been an eruption. This is a 12-mile round-trip hike. It's one of the most physically demanding days that we have in the Galapagos Islands. Daphne Major is a small island where a husband and wife team from Princeton University have been studying the evolution of Darwin's finches for most of their lives and have made some really fantastic discoveries just on this small island. This ropey-looking, almost pudding skin-like rock is Pahoehoe lava, and one of the highlights of the Galapagos Islands is this region called the Sullivan Bay lava fields, where you can walk on lava that's only a little bit more than 100 years old. This lava was erupted long after Darwin was there. Snorkeling, we see a lot of wildlife underwater when we're snorkeling, like green sea turtles, which are fairly common in the Galapagos, schools of fish and pencil urchins, damselfish that hide among the rocks and then come out and challenge you because you're invading their territory, and sharks. One of the exciting things about snorkeling is coming across your first shark, which at first your impulse is to panic and swim as fast as you can away, but that quickly gives way to fascination. They're beautiful creatures and fun to watch. Penguins are indigenous to the Galapagos Islands, probably one of the few places in the world where you can jump in the water and snorkel with penguins. They're very, very fast, except when they're paddling around on the surface, and you can get a chance to see them. Volcanic landscapes are everywhere in the Galapagos Islands. The volcanic landscapes of the Galapagos were one of the things that really impressed Darwin. Giant tortoises live up in the highlands, and we take a couple of trips up along the flanks of some of the larger volcanoes on the islands to see these giant tortoises, and to go to the centers where they are rearing the tortoises as part of a very, very extensive conservation program. They raise the tortoises from eggs and then re-release them into the wild. Blasting upriver in a motorized canoe is great fun, and it's how we get deep into the jungle for the portion of the trip that takes us into the Ecuadorian Amazon. We go to the rainforest to study the ecology and learn about the interconnectedness of the insects and the plants and the vertebrate animals. We see amazing trees like this kapok tree. We climb up ladders to get to the top of the tree, some of the trees where we can study the birds up in the canopy. Insects, there are probably more insects per square foot in the Amazon than in any other place in the world, including these leafcutter ants, which are out harvesting leaves that they then use to farm fungus in their underground nests. We learn a lot about the indigenous peoples in the rainforest, and we meet some of the people from the nearby villages who show us their way of life and teach us about the forest and how you can survive in the forest and find medicines and fresh water, and which plants are good to eat and which plants are useful for curing different diseases. We also visit a village where we learn how the indigenous people live and farm, and some of the plants that they harvest, like this manioc root, which is a main source of starch in much of the world, but in the Amazon. You can grind up the root to make a paste and squeeze the water out of the paste to make a flour, and then the flour is cooked over an open fire and turned into kind of a flatbread. which is a staple of the diet in the Ecuadorian Amazon. It's very good with sardines or with jelly. And we always spend some time on the trip in the high Andes, where we usually visit a market village and also do some bird watching and learn about the ecology of the high altitude region of the tropics in South America.